another bake-along recipe, and the theme is holiday desserts. And this one is a real showstopper. I am making a tiramisu torte. Now, we all love tiramisu, that classic Italian dessert. Ladyfingers soaked in coffee, a rich mascarpone cream, a hint of chocolate. But typically, you serve it in the dish, you make it, and you spoon it out. And that is fine. But when you really want a dessert you can bring to the table and have people ooh and ah, this tiramisu torte is the one for you. So we're going to incorporate all those elements, the mascarpone cream, the ladyfingers, the coffee, and the hint of chocolate flavor, but we're going to layer it in a sliceable torte. So I'm going to get things going with a sabayon. Now this is the base. When you're making that mascarpone cream, you want to aerate it. You want it to be fluffier than just mascarpone cream, that it would be too heavy and rich all on its own. So yes, okay, it is still rich. I am using egg yolks, but I add my egg yolks to my bowl along with sugar. And a sabayon is an aerated mixture of egg and sugar, but you always have to add a liquid to it. And in this case, because it's the holiday season and quite often there is a spirit layered into tiramisu. Some people use rum, some people use marsala or Madeira, some people use a coffee liqueur. I'm using brandy here. So I'm adding my brandy, and if you want to keep this free of spirits, you of course have the option to do so. Replace the brandy with coffee and build on that coffee flavor. You know, I've even done tea tiramisu tortes. I've done Earl Grey tea infused in the layers. So you have lots of flavor options that way if you'd rather not use the alcohol. Now, I'm going to take this mixture over to my pot of gently simmering water. And you want to mix quite vigorously as you do this, whisking. Back and forth. This is stirring, so if you're using a whisk, try and avoid this circular motion. You actually want to go back and forth, and then you can rotate your bowl to switch directions. And this really adds volume to your sabayon. So I'm going to cook this until it's almost doubled in volume. And I have my temperature probe. I love that you are such keen bakers and you ask for the temperatures of things. When you're making a sabayon, you don't have to guess if you'd rather not. You will cook this until it reaches between 150 and 160 Fahrenheit. That's when you know the egg yolks are fully cooked. The sugar and the brandy protects the eggs from overcooking. So you'll get the volume, it holds the volume, so it aerates that rich mascarpone cheese we're using in this tiramisu torte. Yeah, we've got a nice hot water. I know I try and use glass bowls whenever I can so that you can see through on the cameras, but really a metal bowl in this case is more practical. It conducts the heat very quickly. And then it also, when you take it off the heat, cools down faster. Oh, we're getting some volume in there. Looking good. Sorry, I'm not facing the camera. I'm just paying attention to what I'm doing here. It doesn't take long, only a couple minutes if your water is really steaming up. Let me check the temperature now. We're getting there, 136, so just a little bit more. Oh yeah, look at how that's thickening up. It looks almost like a lemon curd. Whoa, I hit a 151 somewhere and just want it to be over 150. There we go, everywhere. And off the heat it comes. So look at how that thickened. Woo, it cooks out the brandy a little bit. It doesn't boil it, but it does cook it out so it mellows the flavor a little bit. So now I'm just giving this a stir so that the hot bowl, the bowl a chance to cool down a second. And now I don't want to work with the sabayon right away because it's still hot and it would melt my cream. So what I'm going to do is set it aside to cool a little bit while I get my other elements ready for the tiramisu. I'm just going to turn off my heat. When it comes to tiramisu, those elements, you've got the lady fingers. In this case, I've got a layer of cake too to go in between to layer the torte, the coffee soaking syrup. Take the time you need to get all of those elements ready because the easiest part is actually building the tiramisu. So let me get my coffee syrup going. I have my sugar and I've kept some coffee hot on my back burner here and I'll pour that in. You want it hot so that it dissolves the sugar. And in addition to that, you can at this point add a little brandy. I'm looking at the coffee and I'm thinking chocolate. So it's up to you. If you're not adding spirits to the recipe at all, just leave this out. There's no adjustment you need to make because you've already got the coffee flavor worked in. And if you want, this is optional, you can add a splash of vanilla. There we go. And so I'll set that aside. And that reminds me, I do add a little vanilla to my sabayon. So when it comes to a layered dessert, a trifle, really a tiramisu is a style of trifle, where a traditional English trifle has the fruit and cake element, the Italian trifle has the cake and the cream element. But when you're layering, you want to layer the flavors so that really every bite is balanced in that combination of flavors. And you'll see that when I'm building the torte. So now, additionally, I want to get my mascarpone and whipped cream ready. So this is a full tub, 500 grams of mascarpone cheese. Some tubs are 450 grams. It depends on what brand you buy, where you buy it. If it's 450, don't spend the extra money to buy an entire tub of mascarpone just for that supplemental 50 grams. A tub will work, 450 to 500 grams. And some mascarpone cheese can be really firm coming out of the tub. So I give it a little stir in a bowl just to give it a chance to soften up. And what I'm going to do now is I've whipped up 2 cups of whipping cream to a full volume. There's nothing in the cream whatsoever. Half of this I'm using for the topping of the tiramisu torte. The other half goes into the mascarpone cheese. So I'm going to add a little at a time. So it's really, you're creating an easy mascarpone mousse when you're making this traditional tiramisu base. The sabayon base and the mascarpone cream and whipped cream is a traditional tiramisu. So if you don't want to do the torte, you could assemble this just in a 9x13 dish if you wanted.
So you're too busy to read the Bible. Well, what if your Bible reads itself to you? Well, that's exactly what this app...
So I'm just making sure that mascarpone cheese is nice and smooth. And I'm going to save this whipped cream because that will be my topping. If you're making this torte ahead of time, you would probably save the whipped cream topping for the very end, close to the day you want to serve it. There we go. So nothing has been added to this. It's just the cream and the mascarpone cheese. Getting all my elements ready. The remaining whipped cream, I will add just a little bit of sugar to sweeten it, a little vanilla. And it's up to you if you want to add more brandy here. For the topping, I don't think you need it because it's so simple. But tiramisu typically has a whipped cream layer on top of it. I'm just sweetening that up a little bit. we go. So the topping, the base. I have my lady fingers here, and depending on the size of the lady fingers, you will use anywhere between 16 and 24, and you'll notice what I did was just